It's currently almost 4 a.m. I'm sitting on a boat right now where I volunteer to get free food and accommodation. My friends are asleep in the same room. Two of my other friends already went to sleep in another room. I want to make it clear that while I'm recording this, I am under the influence of truffles, magic truffles, I think you call them. But while taking them, I came to, I think, a very profound realization. When I took these drugs, which are legal in my country, I started feeling a sort of sensation that I was traveling. Not in a sense that you're literally moving, but rather that you're moving with things. It's not so much that you yourself, as an individual, go somewhere or sit on a plane and then fly somewhere or sit on a train or even a boat for that matter, or a car. I want you to imagine if you and the car would become one. If you and the plane would become one and you would travel together, not being tricked that you're something separate, but as one organism, you would be moving through time and space. And the interesting thing about experimenting with these types of drugs is you're not only traveling through, in a sense, time, and by time I mean your memory. You're not necessarily remembering everything. It's not like your life is flashing before your eyes, but you get this nostalgic sense. And you're you are essentially moving through all of the emotions, all of the vibes, all of the feelings you've ever experienced or felt. All of these things that were once as present as you are watching this video now. And I felt very comforted by the world around me. I still do in a sense, but it's wearing off a little bit. But the world seemed to be perfect. Um, you were completely involved. You're moving through all these emotions and sensations and experiences. But it's not a bad thing. Everything's okay. You're being guided through it. I don't know by what, but I think it's kind of the point to not know. And you're making your way through these all types of different, I don't know how to explain it, but like all kinds of different experiences and emotions. They all kind of merge into one. But the profound realization this made me have, because it made me think a lot about my childhood and where I am now and how I got here. Because my childhood was not very easy. I didn't come from a normal childhood. I didn't have the luxury to grow up in that way. I'm not saying this at all to pride myself upon my suffering or pretend that, I'm somehow special or that I'm a victim in some way. But I'm just trying to give you more context. Essentially, this made me think a lot about my childhood, the structure of it, the structure of where it led me to, of what kind of a person it made me. And it made me think of not only what kind of person it made me, but of the kind of person I was, of the kind of things I experienced, the kind of knowledge I knew, the kind of feelings I felt, the kind of sights I saw. I know all of what I just said is contradictory, because in my other videos I talked about, or maybe I haven't, I don't remember, I haven't posted in a while, but my other videos talked about not being able to see sights or seeing or feelings, that it's all one thing, of course, but I'm talking in the context of past experiences. I'm talking in the context of reviewing where I was once, where what what I was. And the reason I say this is simple, because when I think about my life to this point, up to this point in time, everything, absolutely everything is just, it's slipping, it's flowing. I don't, I can't believe that something now I just hold as a memory was once my reality. I was once a scared 12-year-old kid who didn't know if he was going to have a roof over his head. I was once an anxious, depressed 14-year-old kid who didn't know if he was going to live another day because he wasn't sure if he wanted to. I was once a 8 or 10-year-old kid who was ignorant about his environment, who was naive about his world. Everything seemed fine because his parents told him it was fine, and he believed every word they said because they were his greatest source of security and comfort. They were his nurturers, his guides through the world. So I was all of these things. I know for you it might just seem like, oh, okay, you're just spouting nonsense, you're under the influence of drugs, of course. Of course, this is all kind of special to you and magical to you, and it's kind of unreal. But I want you to really think about it. This doesn't even require drugs. It just so happened that I was under the influence of them when I came to this realization. You were once a kid. Maybe you are if you're watching this video. If you are, then cherish it. But think about all of the different realities you've already lived. You've lived a reality where your greatest concern in your day was whether you were going to have your favorite brand of ice cream after dinner, whether you could go play soccer with your siblings in the park or take a dog for a walk, whether mom would make a good dinner, or whether you could take your bike out for a ride before it was too dark and your parents would get worried. All of these realities you have experienced. You don't just remember them. They're not just a memory. For you, they are just a memory now. But they were once your reality. They were everything to you. Just as this moment right now, when you're watching this video and you're still, and you feel that this is how everything is, that this is the world as it is, in the same sense, in the same firm standing that you feel here now, you felt back then. You felt when you were a kid, you felt it when you were 10 years old, when you were 15 years old. Maybe you're old enough now to say when you were 20 you felt it. Maybe you felt when you were 30 or 50 or God knows what age. But all of these realities, all of them, were once as real to you as the very sound of your own voice, as the very feeling of another person's touch, of good music, of a tasteful meal. We don't realize how delusional we are about the world. We think in past, in terms of past, present, future. We cut our times into sections, try to calculate our life. We think it's appropriate to analyze, put a point, to say I was here on this time at this date, blah blah. In 20 years I'll be here at this time at this date. 50 years I'll be here at this time at this date. In 20, no, the future is completely a concept. Past is nothing more than memory. But I want you to focus on the fact that the past was once as real to you as the present is today. And now it's nothing but a memory. And that shouldn't be a fact that makes you, or maybe it should. I don't know. I'm not here to dictate the validity of human reaction. I'm not here to tell you how you're supposed to feel. But it's not something that should be depressing. You're there and then you aren't. You're here and then you aren't. It's a constant game of hide and seek, not only by you, but by the entire universe. Because you aren't separated from it. Even though you've been told to believe that an individual is someone whose border ends on their skin, who's someone who walks the earth an alien to his environment or to her environment, and is an orphan to this world, who knows not their place. You are as much of this world as the world itself. You are a complete expression of absolutely everything that will ever be, and you are conscious of it. You are conscious of it. Most people live their entire lives and they have the audacity to call it mediocre. They have the audacity to say, well, that's life. You are consciously experiencing everything. You are experiencing the universe in its absoluteness. There is nothing outside of this. There will never be anything outside of this. When you're watching this video, this version of me is already dead. I'm already gone. This is just a memory. Every word I've just said is nothing now. Nothing more than a recording, than a noise, than I remember I did something once. And the reason I think this is so amazing to realize is because it makes life magical. It makes this thing so much less limited than what we've been told it is, and what we've been made to believe it is. I mean, we live in a world where we've been manipulated into believing that we're so much far apart from it that we've started destroying it ourselves. Look what we've done to the planet. You think the people who are doing this to us, you think the people who are just absolutely destroying everything and making life worse for everyone else, you think these people feel connected to the world? You think these people feel that they belong to the world? They don't. They don't. They think they're orphans of it. They think they came into here just by chance and they're going to take whatever they can get before the big bang comes. Death, their biggest fear. They are greedy. They are selfish. They are self centered. They are egotistical. They are narcissistic, manipulative maniacs because they live in a world where it's nothing is of them and they are of nothing. They live in a world where they are orphans to it, where they're here only temporarily and they belong to some other thing. They belong somewhere else, blah, blah. So they come here and they just plunder everything because they know they're only here temporarily. They don't give a damn about any of us because they feel like, oh, we're all going to die anyway. Might as well do what's best for me. They don't feel that they're a part of the forest. They're a part of the mountain range. That the mountain range, that the forest, that the wind, that the earth and fire gave birth to them. They don't see the stars in the sky and think in when I die I'll become that. They don't see the stars and it doesn't give them an ancient memory of what they once were and what they are now. They see the stars, they see the trees, they see the mountain ranges, and they think all of these are things apart from me, things not of me, things foreign to me. I will cut down the tree, I will break the mountain range into 100 little rocks, and if I can, I'll sell off the stars so that there's no light in the sky. Because I don't care. At the end of the day, I will die, and only I matter. This is the kind of mentality which is killing us, which is which is absolutely robbing us of any unity, robbing us of an opportunity to feel one with this world, something we should have never stopped feeling. If no one taught us as kids that we're this and we're that, and they just let us discover the world for our own, and they didn't impose all these rules and regulations of how you're supposed to be as a person, how you're supposed to act, and how you're supposed to do this and that. And look, I'm not saying you shouldn't be taught anything at all, but I'm saying that we're dumbed down into factory workers when we should be artists. Hell, if someone wants to be a factory worker, but they're working in a factory like an artist, then let them be. But that's not what's happening. We live in a system which constantly tries to dumb us down. But we are being convinced that you matter the most. It is your future that determines societies, either make or break, progress or backwards evolution. It is you who has to go to college. It is you who has to study and do all of these things and 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 get these degrees and succeed for the benefit of society. It's you because you matter the most. We've been told since birth that to be an individual is to be an isolated body. It is to walk through the earth knowing that everything outside of your skin is foreign. We have been told this absolute disgusting lie since we were kids. Many people did not intend to tell us this. They did not intend. But they have been bred and they have been ignorant as much as we have been. For hundreds of years, they have been taught that this is the way. That God is some king in the clouds, some monarchy who rules the world with one mighty hand and stern decision. He makes everything happen. But what if I told you that God wasn't a king? In fact, he didn't even have a crown. He had no soldiers or army or angels. The only thing God ever was that. That's the only thing God ever was. And God saw himself in a trillion different experiences. And he doesn't know how he does any of it. Because every time he forgets, he's reborn. He's reborn. And he's you. And so he's reborn and he forgets. And then he dies and he comes home. Once again, he's reborn. He's reborn. Let me return to my point. You have already lived a million different realities. You have already lived 1,000 different lifetimes. The only reason you don't believe you have is because you've been lied to that there's such a thing as past, present, future. Your life has been sectioned into conceptual dimensions, made to calculate it for an unknown, stupidest reason in order to evolve society, in order to know how to live your life correctly. You were once a kid, And that was everything there was to you. I'm now 18 years old. I'm going to be turning 19 this year. Right now I'm 18. That's all I will ever be. This is everything I am. There's nobody else out there. My friends are 22 and 24. That's all they are. Right now they're sleeping, they're dreaming. That's all they are. That's all there is to them. This is it. This is it. We all want to, in a sense, a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us, feel this need to say, I know myself. I know myself. I know what my favorite color is. I know what my name is. I know who I want to be. But your favorite color changes sometimes, doesn't it? Your name doesn't always ring in your ears. And where you want to be isn't always so clear, is it? It's almost like what you are is not something set in stone, but rather a pulsating vibration, a river of different experiences, different realities. What you are is not fixed. In fact, what you are, you cannot even explain. I can't explain it either. Right now, the sun is rising. I'm as much that as I am my name. Magic only takes place in contrast. You're here as much as you aren't. So when you do think of your past, I don't want you to think of it as experiences set in stone, as, oh, I did this once. Oh, I remember when I did that. Yeah, I was a kid once. Oh, I remember when I was 7. No. Your reality was once being 17 years old. That's all there was to you. Your reality was once being 10 years old, and that's all there was to you. There was nothing more, as much as there is now. There's nothing more. Just as you're sitting here now, you were sitting there back then. If you went, imagine if you were 10 years old or 6 years old and you tried to go back, try to remember. Now, what was I before I was born? What was I before or anything? What was I before I was 4? What was I before I was 2? What was I before I was 1? And you try to remember and you try to remember and you couldn't remember anything. Well, that's because there's nothing to remember. Because you were nothing. That's exactly what there is to remember. Of course you don't remember anything before you were born. You were nothing. And you might say, oh, well, that's common sense, isn't it? I wasted my time talking about this. But you don't understand what I'm saying. You were nothing. The same reality that you're experiencing now was once a reality of nothing. That's not something you can get in concept. In fact, it's impossible to conceive. It can only be experienced through death, through awakening. When you realize how impermanent everything is, when you realize that no, this is not a point in my life, that those marks I made of a certain age, of a certain birth, of a certain time, of a certain month of the year, are all just pulses that I pinned down and said, okay, I'm here now. But when you put the pin, it's already gone. In reality, there's no more than just one. That's all there is. But because we don't live in reality, we live in our heads, we hear. To you, this might sound consistent. You might hear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But that's only because you have the memory of hearing 1, 2, 3. You only have the memory of hearing 1, 2, 3. In reality, you're hearing the same thing. You're only ever hearing one sound. I don't know why it's not working now, but I want you to really listen. You're only ever hearing one sound. You're only hearing one sound. I know I'm repeating myself a lot, but I'm saying this with great necessity and great focus for you to listen. Sorry, not necessity, but insistence is what I want to say. You're not hearing a series of clicks. You're just hearing one click. And the memory of hearing those other clicks makes you believe that there's a series of them. In reality, there's just, and that's it. In the same way, your life just now, this is it. There's nowhere to be. There's nothing more. Nothing more. This is it. Your childhood, the one which you remember, the one which seems to be a consistent, how do you say, the time you've lived, which seems to be a consistent pins of certain dates and months and whatever. All of that was once just it. All of that was just once it. There's nothing more. When you were 10, you were 10. When you were 8, you were 8. There wasn't being when I was 6. There wasn't being when I was 8. There wasn't being when I was 12 or 10, 13 or 14 or 15. When you're 13, you're 13 and that's it. I'm 18, I'm 18 and that's it. This is the end and the beginning. There's nothing more to this. One day, which will be it for someone else. All of this, all of my experience, everything I've ever felt, everyone I've ever loved, everything I've ever owned, everything will be nothing more than a few words written in an old book. Imagine that. I want you to really imagine your entire existence will one day be nothing more than someone's story. Your grandfather used to like this type of music, or your grandmother used to love to dance. Your grandfather, when he was 18 years old, he lived in Amsterdam. He volunteered on a boat. He talked about philosophy. He was interested in the philosophy because it fascinated him. The life he lived fascinated him. And it also fascinated him to see how many people were not fascinated. That's all there will be of me one day. Someone telling someone else's story in their in their beginning and their end, in their complete reality. And this will never repeat. This is gone. That's it. Even now as I'm speaking to you, this isn't consistent. None of what I have said here is consistent. You're only hearing the noise I'm making now, the words I'm speaking now. All of those past sentences, all of those past words I've put together, they didn't come together. They're not following like troops, their commander. No, they're all one sound. And you're only just remembering what I said, which makes you think that I'm speaking continuously. But there's only ever one sound, and there's only ever one life and one death, and it's all taking place. This is what the Buddhists have taught thousands of years. This is the beauty of life. This is a complete dream. You haven't been alive for the first time. Just don't remember, and honestly, you shouldn't. Because as I said before, you are as much as you aren't. You've been born and you have died for many, many, many lifetimes. You've been an old man and an old woman. You've been a cat and a dog. You've been a tree. You've been a rock. You've been absolutely everything in the same way that you're absolutely everything now. In the same way that I am absolutely everything by having a name, by thinking, okay, this is Numa's life, this is Numa's experience, this is Numa's friends, this is Numa's uh, girlfriend, this is Numa's dad, this is his mom, this is his book, this is his video. But all of that is completely impermanent and it has no name. And it's all happening now, 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 now. And it's all going and going. And you have to go with it. To let go, you have to go with the flow. And only then will you find enlightenment. Only then will you find true peace. Only then will life cease to be a burden. Will life start to be a game you can play seriously if you like, but not always. A game you know how to play because you allow yourself to not know, to not need to know everything, to not pretend that there's some manager who will answer you all of your questions. Remember what I said. Magic only exists in contrasts. Life is only as beautiful as it is because death exists, because you've been born and you've forgotten and you've died a million times. You've been Shakespeare, you've been Mozart, you've been you've been you've been Alexander the Great, and you've been the very stars you look upon. And yet you still sit here today. And here you are again, lost once again, and you've forgotten who it is you are, where you come from. Before you turn off this video, I want you to ask yourself a few questions. What has your life been like? What is your farthest memory? And what do you seek? These, I think, are one of the most important questions. We are all dreaming, but there is a way to wake up, and it doesn't have to be just the death. We don't have to just remember who we are once we are already dead. We can awaken, and when we awaken, we remember the beautiful game that we created for ourselves, and we can play it masterfully. We can do away with all this bullshit about how you're supposed to be as a person, about where you're supposed to go, and oh, you're supposed to have this degree at this time and be this. No, we can do away with all of that, and we can throw away all of these societal pressures and fear of being judged by other people and being constrained by all sorts of stupid games we play so seriously to pretend that we have any grasp on what we call reality. And we can actually start to live and not just be alive, but to live in the spiritual, poetic, and artistic sense, to express ourselves as much as the universe expresses itself through us by giving us this life. That is all I have to say today. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.